Corporate strategic plans are typically mapped out in precise 1 to 5 year cycles. When a sudden, catastrophic external shock hits an organization, that long-term planning disintegrates. The emergence of COVID-19 in Wuhan rapidly escalated into exactly this kind of global shock, overriding every existing contingency plan across the healthcare sector. In the clinical setting, physical consequences were immediate. Hospitals faced a sustained drain on supplies, widespread personnel fatigue, and total depletion of available bed capacity. In a different domain, consider a legacy enterprise software organization. Here, a catastrophic breakdown in delivery manifests as massive production bottlenecks, severe code deployment delays, and crippling incident rates. Despite the differences in these variables, biological crises and technical failures share deep structural parallels. In both scenarios, the system collapses because rigid workflows cannot process sudden surges in demand. Resolving this kind of systemic chaos requires a specific operation of mechanism. Dr. John Kotter, a professor at Harvard Business School, designed his 8-step change management theory to provide exactly that structure. Kotter's model is a domain-agnostic engine. It scales across different high-stakes environments, replacing ad hoc decision-making with a standardized, repeatable protocol. Applying this rigid management framework to a chaotic event forces leaders to abandon reactive panic and focus entirely on systematic execution. The process begins with step 1, create a sense of urgency. Before any process can change, leadership must establish clear, undeniable reasons why the status quo is failing. In the acute hospital setting during the pandemic, this organizational urgency manifested naturally. The direct threat of viral transmission and the rapid depletion of critical resources provided immediate, visible proof that current operations were unsustainable. A DevOps transformation requires a different approach. The inefficiencies here, high incident rates, long delivery lead times, and severely siloed communication are often invisible to the broader company. Leadership must actively extract this data and broadcast it to establish the crisis. Once that raw urgency exists, it must be captured and directed. This triggers step 2, building a guiding coalition. In traditional crisis management, siloed leadership and isolated departmental decision-making are the primary failure points. Individual teams act in their own best interests, fracturing the overall response. To prevent this, a DevOps steering committee demands strict composition. It requires cross-functional representation, forcing developers, operations engineers, and business leaders to sit at the exact same table and align their goals. The hospital environment maps to this exact cross-functional requirement. A successful pandemic response mandates immediate, daily alignment between frontline clinical staff, supply chain logisticians, and hospital administrators. Without a structured, multidisciplinary coalition to harness it, raw organizational urgency will inevitably dissipate into chaos or result in widespread staff burnout. With the coalition established, the focus shifts to step 3, develop a strategic vision. This vision must describe a future operational state that is highly optimistic, yet strictly achievable. To be effective, this abstract vision must be anchored to concrete, measurable data points. These are defined as objectives and key results, or OKRs. In a DevOps transformation, a specific OKR target is the automated efficiency of continuous integration and continuous delivery. The goal is a highly reliable pipeline that pushes code to production seamlessly. In the medical setting, the vision shifts from delivering standard care to executing comprehensive workflow modifications and establishing widespread isolation protocols. Consider the logistical constraints of reorganizing a single operating room. The coalition must align the competing interests of anesthesiologists, surgeons, nurses, and vendors, all while enforcing strict infection control measures. Formulating the plan is only half the requirement. Step 4 is communicate the vision. Organizations must deploy rigorous communication protocols to link their vision to daily operations. Utilizing regular town halls and establishing direct feedback loops ensure staff understand the plan, actively reducing organizational anxiety. A strategic vision without an aggressive, structured communication plan is merely a theoretical suggestion. It is entirely incapable of changing daily behavior. Step 5 is removing barriers. The guiding coalition must identify and destroy the structural obstacles, policies, and silos that slow down progress. Prior to 2020, the adoption of virtual physician visits was continually blocked by historical red tape, complex privacy concerns, and bureaucratic inertia. The pressure of the pandemic empowered hospital administrators to bypass this legacy bureaucracy, launching telehealth networks in a fraction of the time usually required. In the DevOps environment, removing barriers means actively tearing down legacy infrastructure bottlenecks and providing the exact technical training engineers need to execute the new workflows. Once the path is clear, teams must execute Step 6, create short-term wins. This chart plots organizational energy over time. Early, visible success is a mathematical and psychological necessity to combat the widespread change fatigue that naturally sets in among the workforce. A distinct physical short-term win in the hospital case study involved supply chain logistics. By securing agreements to deploy advanced medical supply trailers early in the pandemic, administrators proved they could protect their frontline staff. In DevOps, a technical short-term win looks like successfully automating a single contained code deployment process. It proves the viability of the entire new CI/CD pipeline on a small scale. Recording and widely publicizing these minor wins builds kinetic momentum. The organization uses these small victories to power through the hardest phases of the transformation. These short-term wins provide the engineered proof-of-concept data points that legally and culturally validate the guiding coalition's overall strategy. Morning tone. Step 7 is consolidating gains. This specific phase is the primary danger zone where transformation initiatives die. Organizations possess a natural, powerful gravitational pull. The moment the initial panic or crisis subsides, systems and personnel will automatically attempt to revert to their legacy workflows. Beating this regression requires aggressive countermeasures. The guiding coalition must explicitly measure current daily performance against the exact OKRs established back in Step 3. For DevOps consolidation, this means tracking the actual deployment frequency in real time and monitoring the continuous reduction in incident rates. If the numbers slip, the team intervenes. In-house care, the parallel metrics involve rigorously tracking lead times on resource deployment and constantly monitoring the reduction of in-hospital viral transmission. Applying relentless operational pressure during this post-crisis window is the only method for permanently overriding the organization's legacy DNA. The process concludes with Step 8, institutionalizing the change. This is the mechanism of permanence. Leadership must articulate the connection between the new behaviors and organizational success, until those behaviors are hardwired directly into standard operating procedures. In the final state of the transformed hospital system, widespread telehealth networks, rapid supply chains, and dynamic space management are no longer classified as emergency measures. They are the daily standard of care. In the IT enterprise, agile methodologies and automated cloud infrastructure become legally locked into the company's governance protocols and new employee onboarding policies. Contrasting the successful outcomes of these two highly specialized domains validates the universality of Kotter's 8 steps. The core lesson extracted from the pandemic response is that highly rigid institutions actually possess the capacity to adapt at high velocity when properly guided. The inverse lesson extracted from the DevOps enterprise is that organizational agility cannot be left to chance. It must be systematically coded into the infrastructure. Whether an executive is navigating a biological threat in an operating room or steering an enterprise cloud migration, true organizational resilience is never built on luck. It is built on methodical, engineered execution.